already. Okay. All right, so I just wanted to get that block into the very beginning. As I load these up to Facebook or to YouTube, I think it helps to have the block first. And going in and trying to figure out how to capture one image and put it in as a thumbnail is kind of making me crazy. So hopefully I'll get this all figured out eventually. I feel like I have thread guts all over the place. Let's see. Oh, my thing is like weirding out on me. No, go back. Let's see. I don't even see me on there yet. Hey, Miss Sheila. Welcome, and my finger is not working. Ah, there it is.
So you're the giver.
Okay. Tinkerbell. Let me answer this real quick. My daughter asked me for, yes, Olaf or Tink? Question mark. Okay. So hopefully she'll, hey, Miss Brenda. Welcome back. Miss Janice, welcome, welcome. You may hear my husband in the background. He's having a phone conversation at his computer, so that means he might be hearable. Now, you may notice that in the background there is no music. So this was me finding out for the first time that because I used music in the background and they actually were able to recognize which songs it was, I did a little bit of, I don't want to say copyright infringement, but there are copyrights on that music, so we're just going to have to do it without music in the background, unless I can find some copyright-free music, which is fine. I mean, you know, it is what it is. There's, I mean, a lot of, when I was a photographer, you know, all of our work was copyrighted, and people had a hard time understanding why they couldn't just copy it and make copies of it. And, well, because that was how I supported my family, and if I gave you a 5.5 by 7 picture and you just copied it, made all the pictures you wanted, then I made no money. And thus copyright laws were there to protect people who created things, music and things like that, so that they don't, you know, lose their bread and butter. And there are royalties on music, so royalties have to be paid. Which I guess I kind of knew that if I really thought about it, but you know, my brain was not thinking right. I just thought it was nice to have a little bit of music in the background to keep from being music in the background, you know, just kind of keep it from being just dead air. But there is copyright-free music out there, so I will look and see what I can find. It'll probably wind up being like elevator music.
No.
All right. So what I'm doing right now is I'm just kind of laying out all my squares. So what we're doing today are flying geese. You can see them on the wall behind me. Isn't it pretty? That one took me a little while to work up. I made a couple of mistakes, which is pretty typical of me. One was, even though I said 4 different colors, 3 of each, I actually only did 3 colors. So I had to go back, pardon me, I had to go back and redo some of the, you know, another set of blocks for both. One for the one you see on the wall, plus the one I've got right here in front of me. And I'm going to aim it down so you can see it. These are the colors I have picked out for today. Now, what I like about the ones we've done recently is that a lot of these have involved just 4 colors. So with the jelly roll having a bunch of colors in it, or maybe you just have 4 of your favorite colors or 5 favorite colors, something like that, you still can use these in blocks that just look amazing. So anything works. So if you wanted to do 12 different colors, you could do 12 different colors, or you could do all of the same color. Just let me tattle on myself just a little bit. The reason why I did not have the cutting instructions up last night was because I was working on a different block. Excuse me. I was working on a different block, and I couldn't work out the logistics in it. Every time I stitched it together, one block was bigger than the other. So I've still got a little bit of work to do on that block, but I really want to incorporate that one, and I really like it. It's just, it is a little more complicated. It will take us a little bit longer. This one, I think we can get this done in an hour. So you should go ahead and lay out all your blocks like I do right here. Just lay them all out, and then you're going to take your 2.5 by 2.5 squares, and you're just going to lay them out. Now I've got all of these face up, hopefully. All of these are face up. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take all my squares and put them face down. And I'm putting them just on one side, okay? I'll go back later after we do this one, and then I will put all of them on, then we'll go back and put the other ones on the other side. So let's just go ahead and lay it all out. And you might find that we have this done very, very quickly. That one is so wrinkly that it's hard to see what it is. I must have these all straight up. And how I did that, I don't know. Because I was sure I'd cut them back to back. All right. So we're going to use 12 of your 24 squares on the first pass. As I was working on this earlier today, because again I had to ditch the other one, and so last night before I went to bed I just went ahead and wrote out the cutting instructions, but I didn't post it because I was afraid that it was going to kind of happen like it did the last time, where I put the cutting instructions on and then sure enough it was all wrong. So I rechecked the numbers, went ahead and put it on there, and then finished putting the block together. Which fortunately it turned out just right, yes. Other than the fact that I cut it wrong. The instructions were perfect, but I cut it wrong. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do a stitch, and again I'm going to start from the center over here and work my way down. Now I have kind of come to the conclusion that flying geese is not the easiest block for me. I find that that they tend to warp, especially on the ends. So what I have done is I've used the shift on my needle to shift it slightly to the right when I'm doing one side, and then when I go to do the other side I actually shift it just a little bit more and do the other side. I know you're probably wondering what the heck I'm talking about. If I could flip my machine around I would, but since I can't, I don't know what to tell you. I wish I could. So most machines have a left-right shift where you can move the needle slightly to one side or the other. Sometimes the shift is even more. You can shift it a lot. With this particular foot, you can't shift it much because it just has a little hole. It doesn't have an opening like this foot does. This foot has an opening where you can do the zigzag with it. The one that's on there, the one for the 1/4-inch seam, only has a small hole opening, which is good because you don't want to, go too far outside. So the left-right shift on there will let you shift it one side or the other. So when I do this one, and I'm going from the right to the left, right top to the bottom left corner, I shift it just a quarter, 0.25 to the right. And that seems to help me keep it in line. And then when I do the other side, I actually do negative 0.5. And it also seemed to help. When I did it just 0.25, I still had a little bit of a problem. All right. Hopefully that explains it. If you're not sure, just text me, just send me a private message, and I will do a private tutorial with you to show you exactly what I'm talking about. But this seems to help my flying geese, although some days I feel like there's no help for me. All right, guess what? I'm going to sit down. Mostly because I have all of these up here and they're all ready to go, so I just need to realign it. And I have not eaten anything today, and I wish I had, but it's okay. I will definitely be hungry for dinner. So I've lined this up, and I'm still using the line that I have down the center. It's just when I go to stitch, oh, let me turn it down. I can see it's too light, it's too bright. I think I had it up too much the other day too. Hopefully you guys can still see it. And then we'll turn this one on. One little click. Hopefully that's not too bright. Yeah, it still looks too bright. Let me adjust one more time. I think that's okay. The way I see it, it looks different, but according to what I see on the screen, it looks okay. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're just going to go zip through. We're going to start in the top right corner and go all the way down to the end, and we're going to do all of them just like that. So for me, the flying geese is still a work in progress. It's not one of my favorite blocks, but when you do it right, when it turns out right, you just want to jump up and down and shout and hoot and holler. And that's kind of where I'm at, because today, if you look at the one behind me, it actually turned out pretty good. There are a lot of seams in that. Most of mine I ironed on that one. I ironed them over. I think what we're going to do today is, I didn't iron them up, I'm sorry. I ironed them all to one side. I think what we're going to do today is iron them open. I think that will help alleviate some of the immense amount of seams that it has. Let's see, I'm gonna go ahead and finish up this color. Yeah, I didn't realize how many seams it was gonna have. It looked pretty simple until I started ironing them and catching the lumps in my iron, which I think Roberta and I have both agreed that we need to buy an iron with a flat bottom. I had some kind of stain on my fingernail. It's driving me crazy. I think it might be underneath my nail. I mean, like within the nail. So I'm sorry. No music. No music for now. Not until I can find some music that is copyright free. I know when I was working in photography, we would do videos with the pictures, and we had copyright-free music we could use that we didn't have to pay royalties on. So that was kind of nice. So you just want to line it up, and it should, God help us, it should be pretty square, so it should fit right in there. Now, if flying geese is just really not your thing, the one thing you can do is do a bunch of half square triangles and then stitch your half square triangles together down the center. Now it's going to create that seam, but at least you don't have to deal with trying to make it look, you know, right on. The half square triangle should solve that problem for you. I see we had a whole bunch of people hop on all of a sudden. Just if you want to, tell me your name and what state you're from. I would love to hear from you. Yeah, it's so funny. When I was talking to Miss Roberta about it, I said, yeah, flat iron. You know, she said, flat iron, you mean kind of like the cast iron ones? And I thought, oh, you know, just leave it to me, and I'd wind up burning something trying to use a flat iron. One of those cast iron ones that you know, heat on the stove, and you gotta use a pot holder to hold it. Yeah, one, I'd burn my hand because I'd grab it without a pot holder, and the other is it'd be too hot and I'd wind up frying my fabric. I can't even imagine using one of those. God bless those people who did it back then. I don't know how. I don't know how they did it. Anyway, so for the most part, the one on the wall, I actually got most of the 1/4 inch seams just about right. So I think that might be like the first time ever. Again, not my favorite block, but hey, the only way to get better at it is keep doing it, and that's my policy. If it beats me, if it shows me up, I'm gonna do it again and again and again until I get it right. Keeping in mind that there are some things that no matter how many times we do it, we can't seem to get it where we want it. That's okay. There's no reason to give up. Just keep on trying. But that's one of the things I love about this. We've been doing a lot of half square triangles. We've been doing some flying geese, using strips, blocks, snowballs, and all kinds of cool stuff. So, I mean, that has just been exciting for me. And I love the jelly roll because of the way that you can get all these different colors to work with. And you don't have to buy half a yard of this and half a yard of that. You just buy a jelly roll and it gives you, 2, 3 of the same color of something. Okay, see, we are almost done with one whole side. Then we're going to check the thing and make sure it rolls over. If it rolls over properly, then we can cut out both pieces of fabric and iron it down. But on top of the flying geese being the one of those blocks that just kind of kicks my butt, the iron does too. Because I always catch the seams with the holes in the bottom of the iron where the steam normally comes out. And so I'm always struggling with that as well. You can hear my little grandbaby in the back. She's doing her homework right now. But yeah, I will definitely have to check with Amazon to see if I can find me a flat iron. Okay, that's done. I'm going to go ahead and trim off the other end. I moved my my thread catcher over because I kept catching all the thread on my stomach and chest. All right, so let's use our little razor thingy here, our cutting gizmo. I know some of you have them and some of you don't. Don't worry about it. Just use a pair of scissors. Which, speaking of scissors, somehow I have managed to lose my little scissors. Another pair of scissors bites the dust. Okay, so the very next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to point you down so you can watch me, is I'm going to take a look at my corner and just make sure that if I flip it over, is it going to make a nice corner? And look at that, it does, yay! And I'm going to check all of them, because if I check them all and they're okay, then that means I can trim it off. Now, when I did the other one, I did, and every single corner was great. But as soon as I switched over to the other side, even though I had moved over my my needle, I still was having problems. And that's when I decided to try it at 0.5 instead of 0.25, and it actually worked. Okay, so far everything looks good. I'm just trying to save myself a step here just by making sure that this is going to work, and then I can go back and just trim off all the little extra pieces. And of course, if you have all the extra pieces trimmed off, then that's also less bulk you have to deal with. Okay, we're down to the last one. Perfect. Okay, so that's done. So you have a choice here. You can either grab your scissors or you can grab your rotary cutter, and I have a rotary cutter right here, so I'm just going to grab it. I kind of like the scissors in that I know it's going to go straight through it without getting too close to the seam. But I have my rotary cutter on hand. At hand. And I'm kind of guesstimating at the 1/4 inch seam. And again, I wouldn't stress too much. Mostly the 1/4 inch seam is there to help you line up things. So if you're, see, that was awfully close. So if you're needing that 1/4 inch seam to line something up, then yes, you definitely want to be very specific. But if you just need to get rid of the fabric, then, you know, you just want to cut it off. And if you've noticed, none of these have been very, very straight, so that's okay. Now, y'all, I went and tried to wash my ironing board cover. I took it off, threw it in the wash. I even added just a little bit of soap to try to get it clean. And guess what? It did not come clean. My ironing board cover is stained. And of course it's stained because I did it. It was me. So here's what I did. I recovered it. What do you think? You like that fabric? That was one of the ones I picked up from Bits and Pieces. I have a lot of batiks, but I don't have a lot of other ones. I have a few novelty fabrics, but mostly what I have is batiks. So I always enjoy shopping at other people's places and seeing what they have to play with. All right. So let's bring this thing right on over here and go ahead and iron those open. And I'm trying really hard to just place the iron without running it over it. I know Facebook has been kind of crazy today. I was on an auction earlier today and it dropped comments like crazy. I mean, I didn't even see other people's comments. So I don't know if some of my comments got lost in there too. Okay. So if you're saying something and I'm not seeing it, Type it in again. Okay, according to the screen, we have about 10 people on right now. Again, well, 12, 11. Okay, it goes up and down. That's okay. So just tell me your name and what state you're in. Unless, of course, I already know who you are, then don't worry. I know who you are. But it's always nice to know if we have any new people on here, or if we have some beginners, or what state you're from. We've had some from Brazil, we've had some from UK, and that's always fun. It's always nice when you have people from other countries that pop on. And I know other countries, the measure is very different. So even though what we do is in inches, I know there's a way to change it. I know there's some kind of thing we can do to change it. All right, my sister friends. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to lay it all out one more time. Get rid of my little pieces of scraps. Which, I don't know about you guys, but I finally got caught up with every single mask I had to make. I am all caught up. Of course, this morning I got in another order, but fortunately it's only a small order, so I should be able to get that done quickly. Which means maybe I can get started on some of the other stuff I have to do. Okay, so I'm laying everything out one more time. I'm grabbing up my 2.5-inch blocks, and I am going to put them just like I did the other ones. Hey Debbie, welcome back. I do remember seeing you on here before. I'm so glad you've come back to join us. Thank you, thank you. Debbie, have you had a chance to look over any of the patterns and maybe do one or two of them? Or have you been following along? I am actually going to start looking into ways to make the transition smoother. So I'm going to start looking around on Amazon and some of these other places where they can do like nice video movements and things like that. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but just to make it a little bit smoother. I know you can't see it, but really all I have over here is a pole, a dowel rod that is clipped to my what holds my phone, and I just swivel it back and forth, which, you know, that works as long as I remember it. But it would be nice to have something that's a little bit smoother, that's a little nicer for the videos. Okay, so let's go ahead and get a little bit closer. This is only my second time. I did order one of the books you suggested. I'm waiting on it. Oh, wonderful, Debbie, wonderful. Yeah, I was thinking about it, and I am thinking that I would really like to just do a very beginner class. And when I mean beginner, I mean start from the very beginning. Probably using that book I recommended, and just because normally when I do a beginner, I usually go with the impression that, you know, you already know your machine, and things are, you know, that you're ready to start. But if let me do my shift here. All right, so what I've done is I have shifted the needle over to 0.5, and I'm still going to follow the line, and then I am hoping that this will help me with that little bit of play area that it keeps wanting to put in there. Anyways, but start a very basic. Here's your machine, this is a throat plate, this is a needle, and just start from there and really start basic. And then of course lead you into actually starting very simple blocks. But that is my desire, to start that at some point very soon. I'll probably post it on my Facebook page as a class, and then you just join in. Come on. Looking good so far. Yeah, Debbie, some of the techniques we're doing right now are actually probably more like a intermediate. Flying geese is not for the faint of heart. But please feel free to try it. Sometimes you just don't realize the talent that you have until you actually get in there and start doing something. And so that's usually my recommendation. Don't be afraid of it. Just give it a try. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? It turns out kind of funky, and you've got something that you can point back at later and say, yeah, this was my first attempt. But at the same time, you don't want to scare yourself either. I don't know, hope all that makes sense. I know some people have tried like a log cabin as their first block, which was my first block. And it was so hard to them that they just quit. But for me, that's a challenge. If something's hard, it's a challenge, and I will probably keep digging into it until I get it at least close to being right. And I'm still working on that, by the way. Log cabins are still not necessarily my easiest block, but I finally got that seam allowance down, so I think I'm doing a lot better at it. Except the block last night. That one was kind of kicking my butt. So I was telling the ladies that I was working on a block that I really want us to do, but when I was trying to work out the specifics on it, man, that was kicking my butt. All right. This is working out very nicely. Vermont country store for dry iron, about $55. Yeah, it's not bad. At least it's not like that Aliska thing, which is like over $100. I would love to have one of those, but I can't justify spending over $100 on iron. Not right now. Not right now. Maybe someday. Soon. I probably should have ironed that first one open, but I didn't. So we'll go from here and we'll iron these open. I feel like it's just not in there, right? Okay. Two more, then we can move on to the next thing. Yeah, I think I told you I tried to use the flat iron I bought. It's a retro flat iron. I think it was a Sunbeam. Anyways, it is so old that when I touched the cord, it was hot, and I was like, "Yep, not happening." Last thing I want to do is burn down my house with an iron. Even though we have really good house insurance, I don't think that is something I want to go through. Okay, that is the last one. Let's snip the thread at the end. Snip the thread at the very beginning. That way it's one less thing I have to deal with. And then let's do our little purple thing. Actually, the purple thing is a turning tool. Which is actually very cool, but we got the gizmo, the cutting gizmo. The technical name is the cutting gizmo. And of course you can find that at pretty much any that flipped over on me, any sewing store. Joann's, I'm sure, would probably have some. Your local quilt shops would probably have one. Or you can just use a pair of scissors. So before I had that, I used a pair of scissors. But they demonstrated it on the cotton patch thing one day, and I fell in love. Absolutely fell in love with it. Okay, so once again, we're just going to kind of check our corners. Oh, finally, yes. Check our corners, make sure they line up okay. Because otherwise we might have to use the back piece of fabric to use it as a measure. Oh, thank goodness. All right, so this seemed to help. Also, I had to loosen up my thread, my tension on my thread. I had it up way too high for something else. It's starting to get a little off here. I'm seeing where it's starting to get a little off, but those are good. Those are good. Those are doable. See, now that one's a little bit off. And take a look there. Slightly off right there. And what I can use is I can cut the centerpiece out and then use this back piece to show me where the border should be. And it's still well within the 1/4 inch, so I can use that as a guide and not worry. So I'm going to set that one off to the side and then not worry about what happens with it, because I'll just use the back fabric as the guide for it. Otherwise, they all look really good. Yeah, that one's a little bit off, but not far enough. I'm going to worry about it. And perfect. Okay, so these we're going to cut. This one, I'll show you what I'm going to do. This is the one where the seam is slightly off. Now, you can have two options here. One, you could take it out and redo it. But if you look at it, it looks like it's right on the money, so I don't know how it went off like that, but that's okay. You know what? There's more worse mysteries out there. All right, so we cut the centerpiece out. If you flip it over, and you look, you see where the fabric is supposed to be? And so that's what we're going to use as our 1/4 inch guide. So that's where we're going to put it up to that. But the 1/4 inch will still make it well within that white area. So I'm not worried about it. The only thing I don't like is that you can see some of the pink, the purple through it. So one of the things we can do is after we get it sewn down, we can just go ahead and cut that little part out. All right, but that was the only one we had. So now we're going to go back and we're going to cut all the rest of them, because all the rest of them are good. Which is good, because on the one I have on the wall, it was about 50-50. I had about 50% of them that were not good. I don't know, did I tell you I was over at Bits and Pieces the other day? What day are we on? Monday? No, I didn't. Okay, so I went over to Bits and Pieces. Man, that was so nice. That was so nice. I enjoyed that. Maybe I did tell you about that. Yeah, I think I did, because I remember showing Brenda the ironing board that I picked up for her. Just remember, Bits and Pieces, they have their website out there. The only thing is they don't have the ironing boards on the website. You just need caller. Call her and she can send you a picture, I guess, of what she does have, and then you can pick out what you want, or you can just tell her to pick out whatever, you know, whatever she wants to send you. The boards are $20. I love mine. I got mine about 2 or 3 years ago, and she's actually improved on them, because if you saw hers was fabric all the way around to the back side, whereas mine is a two-tone. Just because I wanted to kind of keep it like it was, I went ahead and put the two-tone back on, and just use enough fabric to make the top. And I love the top. It's so pretty. Vermont County Store. Vermont County. I never even heard of that. Okay, sorry, I'm distracted. All right, so we were talking about ironing these seams open. We've already done that one, but let's go ahead and go and do this one. This should go very quickly, because there's only the one seam. Hey Valentina, welcome. Glad you made it on with us today. Iron that open. Yep, and my grandbaby's back there doing her homework. It's so neat. Ashley sits down with her every day and goes over her homework with her and helps her get it done. Oh, hang on. It's going to take us, it takes a little bit longer to do this than it does to just iron it. But again, I've already done it, and the amount of seams that are in this, you're going to need to go ahead and iron it open. I would say that my long arm quilter is going to be very upset with me, but since I'm the one that does my own long arm, I guess I I guess it'll be me that'll be cursing and carrying on because there's a lot of heavy duty seams in that. Hopefully I'll pick a big loopy design that will hopefully miss most of the big seams, the big bulky seams. And don't forget that you do get, if you're at the end, if you decide you want to have your have me quilt, long arm quilt, your quilt, I will give you 10% off. I know the mailing will probably eat up most of that, but if you're local, I'll be happy to give you 10% off, sorry, 10%, to do the long arm for you. And of course there's a drop off, pick up and drop off, or you know, I'll pick up and drop off to you. Either way is fine with me. 10% off, and either way, 10% whether you're providing your batting or whether I'm providing batting. I'll do it either way. Why are you not ironing that directly on your flat iron board surface? All right, Debbie, this is called a clapper, and it is a cute little tool. My ladies from my guild make these, and a clapper, what it does is it helps to hold that seam open for you while you're ironing. And I don't know if you've ever noticed this, but when you iron on a flat surface, you will get puckers. You will still get, you can tend to get puckers. And when you do it on the clapper, the way it irons it open, those puckers, I almost never have a pucker. So whenever I say you have to iron something open, I use the clapper because the clapper helps to keep from creating those puckers. Plus, I'm kind of restricted here because of, you know, my space, but you can usually start from the beginning from one side and just go right on down, and it'll open up. Because of the way it's held open, it'll just open up as you're going. So you don't have to do all the finger thingies, which I do anyways because I'm neurotic that way. All right, so this is a clapper. I have them in my Etsy store for $10. I have about 5 of them, I think. I think I have 5 left, and I can ship them to you. They cost about $5 for the shipping. Very, very useful, very helpful, and I'll ship it to whoever wants them. Just go into my Etsy store and order one, and I'll ask you which one you want. Okay? Then that's if you're interested. If you like doing it on the board, please feel free. I'm not telling you have to have anything. Okay, so next what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and line these up like this. Excuse me. Okay, and this and this. I want to have them all lined up. And now we're going to start by doing all 4 of them 2 together. So put them together like this, like this, like this, and this one over here. And then we're going to take our time, use a pin, which everybody knows how much I hate pins, but there's a time and place for everything. So you want to line it up so that it looks as good as possible. Get that pin in that V. And that's the only place I'm going to put a pin, is right there on my V. And then because we've ironed it open, if you want to check and see how you did, just open it up and look and see where your pin is. Okay? Okay. Yeah, looks good. Okay. Got that one done. Got that one done. You should be able to go from edge to edge. I got a little bit, see, this is where my iron caught my edge. And this is why I keep saying I want a flat iron. I don't use the steam a lot, so I'd be okay with losing the ability to steam things. Okay, and I'm going to pin that one. And I'm pinning in the V because at the very top of where I put the pin in, that's where I want to make sure the stitch makes it to that point. Because that's going to create those pretty points that you get when you put things together. And this really does look a whole lot better than I usually do. All right, so let's go ahead and get on over here. Get my purple thing out of the way. Hopefully it wasn't in the way the last time. Okay. Needles, pins, scissors. Hold on just a quick second here. Ah, yes. Yes, that is perfect. So Miss Sheila, God bless her, sent me a picture of the iron to show me what the flat iron looks like. And yeah, you know, that's kind of what, that looks like an older Sunbeam. Isn't that cool? Anyways, thank you, Miss Sheila. I appreciate that. Okay. So you just want to recheck all your seams, make sure that everything goes where it's supposed to, and then you can start your stitch. And of course, it got stuck on the bulk. I'm going to keep my pin in until I get right up to it, and then I'm going to pull it out. Of course, you guys know me, sometimes I just run it right over. And then I'm going to make sure that it's staying all lined up and keep going. And put the next piece in. There we go. Right up to the pin, pull the pin, and keep going. My pleasure, Miss Debbie. Anytime you have a question, there's no crazy questions, just ask away. And if I don't know the answer, one of these ladies who is on usually does. And we are all happy to help, especially people who are new and are looking to get into quilting. We are always happy to help. I want you to feel like you have a neighborhood here, you know, a bunch of ladies who are, ladies or gentlemen, because believe it or not, there's gentlemen sewers out there. There's the Marine quilter. I think the first time I ever saw him, he was doing a scrappy quilt too. And I thought that was just really, really cool. I'd never seen, you know, a guy, let alone a Marine quilter. But it was funny because in every single shot as he was moving around, you would see that he would have like look like either a Beretta or some kind of handgun just sitting on his table. Somebody asked him why he did, and he just said, because it's a free country. At least I think that's what he said. Anyways, it was just really, really neat. I enjoyed watching him. The gun didn't bother me because I've been around it my whole life. Okay, and I'm going to make sure I'm staying on target here. And this one just seems a little bit whacked out. Hang on. Well, we'll find out. I may have to take this one apart. But we'll find out in a minute. Come right up to the pin and then pull the pin. All right. Yeah, if you've ever been to my Etsy store, there's not much there yet. I'm working on it. I don't have a lot of notions or anything like that, but I am working on it. I'm hoping to get more things in. But you know, first you have to be able to find a wholesaler or somebody who can give it to you for a good price so that you can at least resell it for a reasonable price to other people. All right, now we are back to our clapper again. I got my iron here. And when I say the points, that's kind of what we're looking for. We want the point to touch, but not quite go over, and you don't, and the object is to not see the white in between your point and the next one. I'm not always that accurate, but that's what I'm aiming for. Okay. So the idea is that you're supposed to be able to take your iron and just run right down the center and the clapper helps it to open right up. And again, it makes it so that it does not get the puckering. And let me tell you, I get puckering. If there's puckering to be had, I get it. So for $10, it is like the most valuable tool probably in my arsenal besides my iron, which I'm ready to pitch out the door. Okay. And we're just going to keep on going. And the reason that we're ironing them open is because we want to try to alleviate the bulk of the seams. The seams will create a huge amount of bulk where they'll start to build up, and you're trying to keep it so that you don't have all that bulk. If you're hand stitching it, like hand quilting it, you're probably not going to want to go over all that anyways. But if you have a quilter that does it for you, or you're going to machine quilt, you're going to want to try to not go over that much, because it will bust your needle, and I can personally attest to that. All right, another one done, and this was the last one right here, and I got a little bit close. I nipped off the tip of my point, but that's okay. You know, I don't know that I've ever had perfect points in every single block in any one of my quilts. And again, it's no reason to toss it out, just keep on moving. So here's what we're doing now. We're going to go back and we're going to take the third one and we're going to put it down. And again, we're going to find the point and we're going to pin it down. So measure, get it all the way across. Find the point and pin it. Get it out of your way. Do the next one. And again, if you notice, we're putting the point to the back side, to the butt. So here's the head, the point, and here's the butt. And you can do either end, but I find it's easier to do it this way. Find your tip, point, get it on there. And these actually look really good compared to what I usually get. So that whole shifting thing has really, really paid off. I don't know if that's something you're supposed to do, but I'm going with it. It works for me. And usually what I have is my ends bend out this way. Right now I have my ends bending this way, and it's probably because of the shift, the needle shift. And you know, I'm good with it. I'm okay with that. Because like I said, this is probably the best my flying geese have looked in a long time. Or maybe ever. Ever! Okay, so have your 6.5 by 2.5s ready, because that's the next step. And how are we doing on time? Not bad. We may actually have this one done by 4:30. Okay, so line those pieces up. See, this just does not look right. All right, I looked at it and I was like, it just does not look right. Hang on a second, my eye is watering and it's starting to burn. Ugh. If I don't do something about the water, because my left eye waters, if I don't get that water out of there, then the mascara flows into my eye and it stings. Okay. All right, glasses back on. Unfortunately, I have noticed that my eyesight is getting worse and worse, and now I have to wear glasses more often than I have ever had to wear glasses. But, you know, I'm just grateful I have some really good eye doctors, because they got me these. All right. Every once in a while it gets stuck again on that bulk, so... Sometimes it will get stuck back here, so you just have to lift it up, get the needle out of it, and make it do what you want it to do. Just don't keep trying to go over and over it. Let's see. Love the background music. Yeah. Unfortunately, I think it's May's lessons for today. May's lessons and May. Yeah, she does have a bit of a melodious voice, doesn't she? Will one jelly roll be enough for all 20 blocks, and how much accent material should we have to start? All right, Miss Phyllis, so no, one jelly roll is not going to be enough. If you did the jelly roll, or the blocks 1 through 12, you should have enough in one jelly roll. But with the last 8 blocks being a little more complicated, you're going to find that you're going to use a little bit more. And I can personally attest to the fact that I've probably gone through about 1.5 yards of accent fabric. In fact, I had to cut another 1/2 yard today just to make sure I had enough to do this. This one right here takes 4 accent strips. And again, I was cutting 24, but I'm doing it times 2. I'm sorry, I'm doing it times 2. So you got to kind of keep that in mind too. So, I mean, at the very minimum, at least 1 yard of accent. But I'll be honest, I haven't really laid it out to find out how much you need. I've just kind of had this. In fact, when I ran out of one, I just went ahead and used another one. All right, there's that one. So if you had 1.5 yards of accent fabric, you should have enough. But I've actually went through 1/2 yard of one, which was just some scraps I had left over, and then I started using another one that had a different white, but still had a different design in it, and I used that one up, and now I'm on to another one. And then as I was looking around today trying to find some face mask fabric for children, I noticed I actually have a drawer full of that kind of white where it has a design in it. And I'm kind of excited about that because I love that fabric. I actually like black better, but I love it when I find little treasures like that hidden away. That's why when a lot of these posts came up about masks and about how, you know, before we were hoarders and now we were prepared. Now they call us prepared because we have all this fabric that we have stashed away, plus, you know, elastic and interfacing, all the things that are coming up short now. So many of us had it, you know, stashed away because we had projects in mind, or things that were going on. So now we're not hoarders. Now we're just prepared, or preppers. Maybe they want to call us preppers. I was flipping through the TV channels, and that was one of the things I noticed. Doomsday preppers, and I started laughing, and I thought, you know what? That's kind of what we were. We didn't even know it. Doomsday. But I don't know, that sounded kind of ominous. This is just a hiccup. This is just a season in time. It's going to be over before you know it, and we get to move on. We get to move on with our lives and get to be with each other again, having our sewing clubs and our knitting groups and whatever else that we did before this. So just hang in there, guys. It's getting there, okay? I know sometimes we feel like we don't see an end to it, but there really is, I promise. I don't know what it's going to look like after this, but it's okay. We're going to be okay, I promise. Okay, let's see. So no, as far as one jelly roll, no. If you want to do the whole 20 set of blocks, then you're going to need at least 2 jelly rolls. Because I had 2 sets of jelly roll blocks. I don't even know where I got them from. They were just in my stash, my prepped stash. And that was what I was using. That's what I'm using right now. And I think I probably got it from Joann's. Maybe it was Hancock's, who knows. If that tells you how long I've had that. But you can always just go into your fabric and cut 2.5 inch strips off, you know, because it's 2.5 by width of fabric. So you can always just pick out some of your favorite colors and just make your own jelly rolls. And if you have an AccuQuilt Go, you can, with that particular die, they have a 2.5 inch die that will cut 3 jelly roll strips, 3.5 inch, I'm sorry, 2.5 by with the fabric die. I love it. I had to do some jelly rolls the other day, and that's how I cut them all. And it made them very straight. Well, straight because I put it on there straight, but I mean, it made it so that it was very clean on the edges, and all 3 of them were exactly the same size, and I didn't have to worry about my ruler slipping or anything. So those dies really are handy. Hey, Roberta. What is the design over your left shoulder? Would that be this one over here? That's my right shoulder. Or the one behind me. The purple one or the baby colors. I'm calling it baby colors even though it's not. The one over here, I don't know. What is it called? It's an old block called the Dutchman's Puzzle. This was one sent in by one of you ladies, and I took it, and she actually had it all drawn out on a grid, so all I had to do was just make sure I had the right measurements for it. So it's Dutchman's Puzzle, that one. This one is a variation of a quilt that I saw in a magazine, and again, I'll try to make sure I have all the references for you so you can see where it came from. But it came out of a magazine, and it's a variation on one of the quilts that was in there. Okay, we're back. Apparently, Facebook is kind of getting cluttered up here, but that's okay. We'll just keep working with it. All right, so here's how this works. You're going to have your blocks laid out like this, and you're going to put your 6.5 by 2.5 on all the same spot. Now, if you choose to not do it in the same place I do, that's okay. You don't have to. But just make sure they're all going in the same direction. So if you're going to put it at the top with them pointing this way, then do all of them like that. You know, normally this one is a whole lot easier to see, but for some reason today it's not. And this light is actually very bright, the one that's over here, which I forgot to move, so I'm getting horrible, horrible shadows across my face. It's so bright that it actually makes it difficult to see the pattern. Okay. Okay. Easiest thing to do is just go ahead and pin it at one end and the other end, just to keep it from shifting until you get it over to the sewing machine. Get that out of the way so I don't hit myself. And believe it or not, you're still working on points because you now have points here, 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 and here that you're aiming for. Now, if you've gotten everything on there, you know, your 3/4 of an inch seam, blah, 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 then you should hit it right on the money. I did notice that this accent fabric, this new one that I had picked out, is actually just slightly thicker than the other ones, which is kind of nice, but it's also a little bit harder to get a pin through it. The weave is apparently a lot tighter. So either you can go ahead and stitch it up like this, or you can stitch the backside and make sure that you're hitting your points. And here are your points right here. Okay? So I'll go ahead and turn mine up so I can watch my points. Alrighty. What are we doing over here? And by the way, thank you so much, Miss Roberta. I think it's cute too. And some of the ones that I have been doing have been turned in by people who were on with us, because I opened it up for everyone to submit their favorite block, and then I would modify it so that we can all do it. And so the one over my shoulder over here was one that I found, but the one over here, the one with the light fabric, was one that was submitted. And I love those old patterns like the Dutchman's. Oh, speaking of which, for my day off, my relaxation here, I know you guys are looking at all my fun stuff underneath my table. For my relaxation, I kind of laid around the pool with the book, and I mean, I was in the pool with the book, which was really kind of stupid, but that's okay. I've done stranger things. I'm reading Jennifer Chiaverni's, her Lost Quilter. I think I must have missed the one before this because I don't recognize the story she's telling. But regardless, she covers enough of the other story that I'm understanding what she's talking about, which is really, really great. And it's just amazing. I couldn't hardly put it down. I probably floated in the pool for 2 hours just reading that book. It was pretty amazing. And no, I did not finish the book in 2 hours. It's still a quite lengthy book. But I do love her stories. They're just, it's amazing. It makes you want to learn how to write just so you can write, cool stories like hers. Or either just read a lot. I don't know. Everybody's different on how they view things. Looks like so far everything is lining up. All my points are lining up. And we are almost done with this, by the way, in case anybody was curious. And last one, and for some reason this one is coming up slightly short. I wonder what I did. I know I didn't cut the square wrong because the... Okay. And we're going to snip off both ends. Now the only thing left for us to do, y'all didn't see that, I didn't actually run over that pin, right? Okay, so the thing left to do, and again, if you don't have the little purple thingy, there's always just snip threads. But I do love my my cutting gizmo. I keep it pretty handy. I'm not even going to look at it. I'm just going to iron those seams open real quick and do a lot of praying. Oh, yay. It actually turned out pretty good. Okay, and this was my bad block. This is my short block. Not sure how it turned out to be a short block, but it did. Now, with this one, I would say that you probably could iron it to it, but I will tell you that when I went back to put all these together, I actually had to go over these and flip them back and forth. So I'm just saying, go ahead and iron them open. Just throughout the whole block, go ahead and iron open. Yeah, not too bad. That one's not as good as the last one. Miss Roberta, how are you today, by the way? How are things going? Alrighty. Oh, I don't think I took anything out for dinner today. I was kind of running late today. I woke up late. Of course, I went to bed late, but I woke up late, and I think I've been late ever since. My husband was up, had like 2 or 3 loads of laundry done. Oh, yeah. That's what I want to do. We have been so inundated with, mask making and trying to handle children and things like that. I don't know about you guys, but I have a helping hand in my home, and that is my husband, and he has really stepped up and done a lot to make things easier for me and my daughter, to make things easier for me so that I can get mask making done. And I don't do it just for people who order it, but I also make masks that I give away to like Joann's, and hopefully they get them to the hospital. So I just want to make sure I put out there how grateful I am for the family members that step up during this time when we have a lot to do, making masks, trying to get things done for our community and such. They need a big pat on the back too, because they have just really stepped up and done a great job. I know mine has. Okay, so here's the design, and I will post the design. I will post the design to my Facebook page so you can see it and go buy it. Because of course, like usual, this is just backwards from how I'm actually doing it, because it's a selfie kind of thing. All right, so then we're gonna do this, and this one goes up here, and then this one is gonna go down here like this. Okay, so each one is going in a different direction, but it's the same direction. They're all pointing outward. Okay. So earlier I tried to do it a little bit different because Miss Roberta and I were having a discussion about, you know, the best way to flip it over and sew it. So I tried it a different way, and I wound up messing it up because I really wanted these two designs right here to be opposite each other. So I wanted one up here and one down here. So by a weird twist of fate, they wound up on the same plane with each other. No matter how many times I twisted or whatever, they don't change. Of course, I knew that when I was trying to twist it around, but maybe I was hoping something would change. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to flip them over. We're going to flip them over just like this, and then we're going to pin it where we want to stitch it, which is probably where I went wrong the last time. And we're going to be following points, so you need to make sure that you're pinning your points together. Let me just put that pin in there just so I know which side I'm working on, because I'm fixing to move it. Okay. So we're going to line up this seam with this seam. And again, if we had ironed everything to one side, you would have all of this fabric lined up with this fabric, and you'd have one huge chunk of bulk of fabric. And by opening up the seam, we've actually alleviated a lot of that bulk. The other thing you want to watch for is now you've got this one right here, and you want to try and line that one up as well. So I'm going to pin it right there, and that one's ready. Now we're going to do this one, and again, we're going to line up the seam right here and here. And just looking at it from the outside, it doesn't look like it's in there right, but if you flip it over and look, at it, you can see that it pretty much lines right up. So try not to judge it from the outside. Open it up and look, okay? And then check the other one. And then pin it down. All right, we're ready to put these two sides together. And then we'll have one more to go. Let's turn you up a little bit so you don't have to look at my mess underneath my sewing machine. Okay. I think I flipped that one up anyways. Okay, and then the other one. All right, so how's this going for you, ladies? Is everything going okay? I mean, you're kind of getting this. It's making sense. Come on, take it over the hump there. All right. Yeah, I'm hoping that somehow between now and tonight I can find my other pair of scissors. I hope they didn't fall down somewhere. It was so funny last night. I was just about to fall off to sleep. I was just about to fall off to sleep, and I heard something, and it was out here, and it was against this wall, and I thought, okay, I think I know what it is. So I just closed my eyes and went back to sleep. And sure enough, when I came in today, the blocks on the wall, the tape had finally given out, and it fell right off the wall, almost down the back of the ironing board, which is pretty much where everything seems to be winding up lately. It's behind my ironing board. So I went and found a heavier sticky tack, and hopefully it'll come off eventually without taking the paint off the wall. That's always my biggest concern. Although I think that paint's been up there for about 19 years. probably time for a new one anyways. All right, let's grab our iron and we're going to run it down the seam. I like the little ironing board. I love the ironing board. I think I have a perfect place for it. To the side of the machine, can you tell the size or dimensions so I can see if it fits? Sure. Still no power from Storm. Aw, just watching today. Still no power from Storm. Oh, I'm so sorry, Miss Brenda. You guys are getting hit pretty bad over there. I know we are getting inundated with rain right now. I keep looking at the pool thinking, man, am I really going to have to put some chlorine in there? It's going to require a lot of chlorine. Don't you worry, Miss Brenda. Everything will be on there. So, it'll be either be in the Facebook. You can always go back to the Facebook. And by the way, guys, I was able to load everything onto the YouTube channel that I started. So if ever you need to go back, YouTube should have every single one, including my little oops video I did. And somebody asked me, I think Miss Mary Ann asked me if I would do a tutorial on mask, and I will be happy to. Hopefully I can do that in the next couple of days. Just do a quick tutorial on how I make my mask and the fitted and the pleated. I'll do two different ones, one for fitted, one for pleated. Okay, so now we have both sides like this. I'm actually going to trim this little piece off right here just because it's driving me crazy. Okay, I think that's good. Yeah, you can hear that thunder out there. Yeah, we got a lot of storms right now. So anybody that's in the way of the storm, you guys be safe and be careful out there, okay? Break my heart if anything happened to you guys. Okay, so now once again, we're gonna just match up these seams. Oh, measurements, yes ma'am. Sorry, momentary brain fart there. Okay, so it is 5.5 inches wide, and its length is about 11.5 inches. So it's 5.5 by 11.5. Okay. Now the ones I get for that I got for Miss Brenda, and again I just went and picked it up, paid the cost, charged you what she charged me, that kind of thing. I'm not looking to make a bunch of money on this. But by the way, the shipping is actually going to be like $8.50 because that thing is heavy, and apparently it's just over a pound, which means that you get charged as a 2-pound item. So it cost me about $8.50 to ship it. And since I don't make any money on it, I don't want to lose money on shipping either. Miss Brenda, don't you worry about it. It is what it is. I charged you what I charged you. Don't worry. Anyway, so I'm happy to pick it up for you. But otherwise, you just call Miss Linda over at Bits and Pieces. I loaded her information on the page, so you should be able to find it. If you don't, just private message me and I'll get you her phone number. Just give her a call, tell her you want one of the ironing boards, and she'll be able to mail it to you. If you want me to do it for you, just let me know. I'll run over, grab one, and I'll mail it to you. Okay. So those are 5.5 by 11.5. And yeah, I love my little ironing board. It has come in so handy, especially with these tutorials that I've been doing. All right, so we're going to pin that in place just so it doesn't shift on me. And then look and see if I have any more seams I have to match up, because you do want to match up all the seams. You want to make sure you have all your seams matched up. So even though there's not as many seams, just kind of take a minute and just make sure they're pinned together. It would be nice if we just put the two pieces together and they just automatically lined up. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. For me, mostly they don't. Okay. And one more pin. And ladies, we are almost done. So if you have any questions, comments, or maybe you need prayer or something, now would be a good time to go ahead and post those. And that way when we are done with this, I can go ahead and answer questions or pray with you. Oop, I need my pins. Let's put my pins up here. Today is definitely a good day to be reading a book because the weather is so crappy. I'm gonna get right up to that pin, pull the pin at the last minute. if you're wondering why I keep lifting up my foot, some of these seams keep folding up, gets caught by my foot, so I just lift my foot up so that the seam will lay flat as I go over it. But I actually have to get right up to the seam to do that. See, like right here, my white wants to get up underneath it or over the top of it, so I'm gonna lift it up just so I can get that seam underneath there. And I don't know what it is, but the first one I do, I think I find all my problems, and then by the time I get to this one, the purple quilt top, it's looking, actually works out so much better. All right, now we have it. Not bad. I would have liked to seen those points come together a little bit more. I might even try to adjust them just a little bit. But here we are. This is the end. What do you think? I like it, I like it. So I wanted this color and this color to be away from each other. And so I put them opposite each other. And that was what I was trying to do with that one over there. I was trying to put the flowery, there's two different kinds of flowery ones. One with a green background and one with like a cream background. And I wanted to get them away from each other, but unfortunately, my pinning, I was not paying enough attention, and they wound up right across from each other. So that's what I was aiming for. I want to get the purples, the ones that are close together, a little bit farther apart. All right, we're going to iron that open real quick. And if you're liking some of the fabric that you're seeing, I do sell. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I love these purples. They're really pretty. I do sell batiks. Mostly what I have are batiks. I do have a few novelties, like some Florida fabrics, novelty fabrics and things like that. But mostly what I have are batiks. If you're interested and you would like to see what I have, maybe you need some blues or some yellows, which I don't have a lot of yellows, but I do have yellows. Blues, reds, greens, purples. Just private message me and I will send you pictures of what I have. I will try and make the colors as close as possible. As long as I do it on the professional setting, it actually looks pretty good. Fairly close. And then I'll just ship it to you. I can mail it to you. Or if you're local, I can always do a drop. Okay? So you just let me know. Now, as far as the ironing boards and the clappers, again, I do those for the ladies so that they get the money for that. And same with Miss Linda and her ironing boards. I don't make any money on those. I'm not, they work for me. I love them, and I think you guys would love them too. And that's the only reason I talk about them, is because they are so handy that they really work. All right, so we have the irons in there. Ironing is done. A few of my points could use a little work, but other than that, it looks really great. Does anybody have any questions? Otherwise, we are done for today. And I hope you guys have fun working on this. Maybe you can get a couple of different ones going. And again, if maybe you would like a jelly roll of some of the colors that I have, I am happy to cut some of my fabric into jelly rolls for you, jelly roll strips. But for the most part, I can do them in yardage. I will cut as small as half a yard, but you need to have at least a full yard for the order itself, okay? Hope that helps. All right. You said it takes more than one jelly roll. What are the size quilts does this make? Debbie, I hate to be the one to tell you this because I kind of have to hang my head a little bit. I have no idea. This is a mystery jelly roll thing. Really all we've done is we've just gone through to see how many different kinds of blocks we can do with a jelly roll using just jelly roll. So the 12 blocks, the first 12 blocks that we did would probably make you about a lap quilt or a wall hanging. And you could call it a sampler. And then with the extra ones that you're going to be adding to it, the extra 8, depending upon the border, you could probably get a twin size out of it. And then of course you can add more to make it even bigger. And these are 12.5-inch blocks. Finished, once they're all put together, they will be a 12-inch block. So you can just kind of imagine if you're going 4 across and 5 down for the 20, that's going to be a 4 foot wide by 5 foot, so 48 by 60. And that's no borders. you know, you may want to go back in and add borders or whatever. So that's kind of it. That's kind of it. All right. Sorry, Ms. Debbie. I wish I had better instructions for you on this, but really it just started out as a, here, let's grab a jelly roll and let's see how many different blocks we can make. And that's kind of what this was all about. Hey, Miss Roberta, I see you're back. I'm glad you're back. So it was just kind of our way of finding something to do during a time when we can't be together. So this puts us together, and we can share ideas. That's why I opened it up for other people to submit drawings or ideas or, you know, comments about the blocks, so that I can include your blocks in this as well. And so far we're doing pretty good. This is number 16. We've only had one that even came close to looking like another one, and it wound up being a 4 point, and the other one was a 1. So it's actually working out really, really well, and I'm really enjoying myself, and I hope you guys are too. We pretty much get on every day from 3:30 to 4:30, Monday through Saturday. I think I only missed one day, and it was starting to get a bit exhausted, and everybody told me to take a break, so I did, which was some really good advice. So I feel refreshed. I feel great. The next one is, I'm hoping to have the logistics worked out on the next block. Miss Sheila knows which one it is, but I don't want to tell you what it is until we actually do it. So hopefully I'll have those cutting instructions for you first, you know, tonight before 10 o'clock. If not, then I should have them to you by 12 o'clock tomorrow. Again, it's just, they're kind of cutting my butt, trying to work out the logistics. I think I've got it figured out, but we'll see. All right. Just a quick prayer for everybody, because there's so much storming going on right now. Father, I thank you so much for bringing us all together, Father, for bringing together the experience and even the ones who are starting out new, Father. Let us be a blessing to them. Help us to show your love and your grace through all of this, Father. Give us opportunities to open up to each other and be a pleasure and a help in these trying and very troubling times, Father. We know that there is something greater going on here, and we just need to hang on. Father, we thank you for all the love, the grace, the mercy that you have given us. And I ask you to touch the sick right now, Father, the ones that are not well, the ones in ICU, the ones on ventilators, Father. I just ask you to heal them, each and every one of them. Just bring them back to health, Father. Just give them all of their health back, and like it never happened, from the tops of their heads to the bottoms of their feet. I just ask you for your love, for your grace, for your mercy, Father. You said by your stripes we are healed, and we are claiming that today. In Jesus' name, we thank you. We honor you, Father, and just bless everybody within the sound of my voice. In Jesus' name I pray, amen. You guys have a wonderful day, and I will see you tomorrow at 3:30. Be here or be square.